Patriots minicamp, baby. It is already creating headlines. Stephon Diggs talking about the boat incident, or really not doing it, kind of pulling his best Marshawn Lynch impression. Keion White, though, he's not afraid to say things, okay? And he was asked about the addition of Mike Vrabel and what it means for Keion White, for the defense, for the Patriots as a whole. This isn't the best audio, but we're going to play it and then read you some of what he said about his current coach and his old head coach.
And how helpful were those early periods? Because I see like you, Harold, and all the kind of veteran guys working your moves. How helpful is it to be able to get those in before you actually get on the field?
It's pretty good. Like, so it's helpful for me because it slows it down for me a little bit. And it trains me, like he's doing a good job of saying, like, this is what you need to think of, this is your thought process. And that's something I don't think I had before, and what I was missing.
So did it feel like you were maybe going on prior experience, or maybe were you just like overthinking, or how exactly?
I trained myself. Now I feel like I have a coach.
What had
Now I feel like I have a coach. It's not exactly how he felt under Drake Maye. It's not how most of the team felt under Drake Maye. You remember some of the comments coming out last year. It felt like we didn't really have a game plan. And when we did, it would change in the middle of the week. Nobody knew what the game plan was going into the game. No wonder you only won 4 of them. One of them by accident. No wonder. They didn't have a game plan. He says, now we have a coach. He went on to say, I like Mike. He leads with work. I can respect that. It's similar to Bill Belichick, just with a younger face. I think we all know how I feel about that. I liked him. So it's comforting to know that you have a hard ass at the helm who will not be afraid to fist fight you in a back alley. Okay, I don't need my head football coach to necessarily be fighting the players in a back alley, but all the other stuff, that sounds pretty good. You know, and this is what I said from the beginning, is that he is taking the good of the Bill Belichick era. You know, there wasn't all good at the end, you know, specifically that last year, it was pretty bad all the way around. But Mike Vrabel brings the good of Bill Belichick, right? He brings the accountability, he brings the hard ass, and he brings the coaching, is what Keion White was really talking about there. That is, like, let's not get lost in the whole fist fight thing to what he's actually saying. I have a guy who's out there coaching me. I was on my own last year. That's a raw deal for Keion White, because the kid has a ton of talent. Belichick loved him. I still think Keion had a good year last year, but he was in the unfortunate, unenviable position of, you know, within the last month of training camp, the Christian Barmore news comes down of him having blood clots and wasn't going to play really that year. Did play a couple games at the end of the season, and that Matthew Judon was being traded. Now, obviously, you can't control the Barmore thing, and the Judon trade, I think, was a good thing for the Patriots, but it was a bad thing for Keion White in the year of 2024, because then all the attention goes to him, and he doesn't really have someone coaching him. That's where Mike Vrabel comes in. And that's why I think when we take a step back and look at the offseason the Patriots had, which I think we can all agree has been a good offseason. Memorial Day weekend boat antics aside, it's been a pretty damn good offseason for the Patriots. The best move they made out of free agency, out of the draft, out of all of it, was getting this guy. Getting Mike Vrabel next to Bob Kraft, holding up the helmet and being the new head coach of the New England Patriots. It still baffles me and a lot of Patriots fans as to why that didn't happen last year. You know, Vrabel was looking for a job last January. And the Patriots were looking for a head coach. And instead of interviewing anybody, and I think a lot of people in New England were thinking, wow, this is going to make a ton of sense, Vrabel. They promoted the inside linebackers coach because they promised him a job 5 years ago. It was stupid. It was heinous. To be honest, as the owner of the Patriots, it's one of the worst things that Bob Kraft has ever done. And it's super, I think, marred that season, obviously, but marred a bit of Robert Kraft's legacy. And now he's putting his eggs in this basket. I think a lot of Patriots fans are putting their eggs in this basket. And I think about, I was thinking about Mike Vrabel yesterday when the Bruins actually unveiled their new head coach, Marco Sturm. And I was listening to a good interview where a guy who used to cover the Bruins, DJ Bean, said, you know, this is probably a good thing for the Bruins to get Marco Sturm, but I don't think you're picturing him as the guy who you win the Stanley Cup with. You know, you're in a big rebuild, and I don't know if that's the guy that's necessarily going to get you there, but it's a start. With Mike Vrabel and the Patriots in a big-time rebuild, I think you look at that, and I'm not saying like, oh, they're guaranteed to win a Super Bowl, but if this thing does turn around, Mike Vrabel is going to be the guy that's lifting that trophy. Okay? Again, that's not me being like, okay, 2 years they're going to win the Super Bowl. But like with the Bruins rebuild, you're talking about, yeah, Marco Stern will get the ball rolling, the puck rolling, and someone else will probably come in the way the Florida Panthers had to actually win the thing. With the Patriots, if this is going to go according to plan, it is going to still be Mike Vrabel. And you can see that. Like, he's a guy who's brought a team to an AFC Championship game before. And I said it from day one when they made the hire. The first thought I think a lot of us had was, finally, we've got an adult in the room again. You know, there's not going to be guys riding their bikes in the locker room and using the big the boom boxes and the basketball hoops. We don't need that shit. Okay? We don't need all of what Bill Belichick brought at the end there. I think there was an ego getting in the way with Bill Belichick, especially with the way he handled his coaching staff. There was absolutely more bad than good in the last year or two of Bill Belichick. What Vrabel brings is all the good things that Belichick brought. The accountability, the coaching style, the game plan, the attention to detail, the willingness to not take any shit from these guys, rookies or veterans or otherwise. So when we look at the 2025 season and we expect a leap from Drake Maye, we expect all-pro kind of play from Christian Gonzalez. We expect a big leap from this defense. We expect a better wide receiver room. But more than that, we expect them to just have their heads out of their asses with Mike Vrabel as the head coach. I mean, how many games last year did you feel like, man, if they just had a coach who just like understood the basics, like clock management, the Patriots would win this game or have a better chance to win this game? The Indianapolis game comes to mind. The Miami game at home comes to mind. There's plenty of times that you can look and just be like, if they had a halfway competent coach, they would have won this game. And I'll tell you another thing. If the Patriots go out there and beat the Vegas Raiders week 1 and start the season 1-0, they sure as hell are not going to be giving a fucking Gatorade bath to Mike Vrabel. Like, that shit is out the door. I'm hoping it comes with a lot of wins as well, but I think this would be a lot easier for the Patriots fans to swallow than seeing the Gatorade baths and the basketball hoops in the locker room and the stupid little handshake that Jerod Mayo and Alex Van Pelt did when they scored a touchdown. Like, we're done with that. This regime that we're in right now is as close to the kind of peak Belichick as we're going to get. You know what I mean? By that, I mean you're not going to get a ton of real hard-ass coaches in professional sports anymore. Mike Vrabel is that, and he's an effective one. That's the thing. You don't get effective hard-ass coaches in pro sports anymore. Mike Vrabel is going to give that to you. He's going to give you that meticulous attention to detail, which should be like the baseline for an NFL head coach. But as we saw with Jerod Mayo and a couple other coaches around the league every year, that's not exactly the baseline. And you're just going to see a guy that doesn't take any shit, man. He built a team in Tennessee. He really did, man. When you look back, oh, they didn't go to a Super Bowl. The Tennessee Titans went to an AFC Championship game under Mike Vrabel. Look what they were before he got there. Look where they are now. You shit the bed on taking the number 1 pick by winning the final game of the season, and you know who got it? Tennessee did. They were just as bad as you. Of course, they beat you last year, but that's a dumpster fire of a franchise. Mike Vrabel was their saving grace for a couple of years. So as much as I love the Stephon Diggs signing, still off an injury, as much as I love their draft and some of the guys they got in free agency, like Milton Williams, like Harold Landry, Like, as much as I like them somewhat bolstering their offensive line, the best move they made all offseason was giving the keys to Mike Vrabel and potentially letting him run this damn thing too. Remember, it's Ryan Cowden. It's his guy that came in for player personnel. It wasn't Elliott Wolf's guy. It was Mike Vrabel's guy. And his fingerprints, I think, were all over that draft. And you cannot say the same thing about Jerod Mayo last year. Jerod Mayo, God love him, man. I actually feel bad for him. He's a puppet. He was an absolute puppet for this organization. Mike Vrabel will not be that. So shout out to Keon White for actually saying that. Now we've got a coach. And that is the first step towards rebuilding this thing and getting to some sort of legitimacy long before you get back to what the Patriots were. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Was Mike Vrabel the biggest addition the Patriots made in the offseason? And how many wins does he give you? I was talking to some friends the other day. They're saying, like, that's got to be at least 2 more wins. And I kind of have to agree. With just basic time clock management and actually having a game plan. How many more wins does Mike Vrabel give you from last year? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you love the Mike Vrabel hire and you're excited for this Patriots season. Check out the other videos on YouTube talking about the Patriots and everything Boston sports. We are live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week.